And Mike, would you lead us with the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Yes, I will.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you.
Amen.
And can we have an approval of the minutes from May 21st?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Thank you. New public business, if anybody has any public business they'd like to bring up, Mr. Bradstreet, please.
Bill Bradstreet, Town Meeting Member, Precinct 1. As all of us do, I drive around town, I see things. I can't help but notice the mill pond. Occasionally, and I think now, they've taken boards out, lowers the level in the mill pond. It also exposes all the silt that's gathered there over, since the last time it was done. There's even some trees that have fallen into it. Is it possible the town could do something about that, maybe a grant or whatever, to dress it up? It is part of Danvers. People do notice things, not just me. I just would like to see it, something done about it. Please, just tell me you will work on it.
We'll investigate.
Thank you.
I'll ask the manager, the mill pond, is that town property or is it the cemeteries?
I believe it's town, and we actually will have an update at the next meeting on all things water. And
All
so
things water.
We can be prepared to give a brief update on.
Bring your umbrella, next meeting, all things water.
Thank you, thank you.
Welcome. Please go to the microphone, introduce yourself.
Good evening. My name is Kevin Barrich, 34 Poplar Street. I want to congratulate the new members of the board. Thanks so much for volunteering and putting yourselves out there to serve us. We appreciate it. So a difficult issue to raise, but I understand that a second town employee is now a former town employee due to the action of the State Ethics Commission. I don't think that these things get better by not talking about them. In fact, the State Ethics Commission makes these elocutions of facts, these recitations of facts public, makes their findings public and their fines public for a reason. And it's because the solution to corruption is more daylight. That's the antiseptic in the solution, not less. I don't know that this issue is why this board was in executive session 2 meetings ago, but I suspect, given the timing, that it might be. I guess I would maybe ask everybody that our open records law gives you reasons you may go into executive session, not reasons you shall go into executive session. Mr. Chairman, your colleague, Mr. Mills, made what I thought at the time was a humorous joke about Tony Soprano driving a trash truck down Sylvan Street. Unfortunately, 2 senior members of the DPW engaged in conduct fitting of that television show. So although I thought it was funny at the time, now I don't. It may not have been an evening of entertainment at the Bada Bing, and it was tickets to Sugarloaf instead, but it's just as serious. Given that it's 2 senior members, I think this board should address what is clearly a culture problem at least one department in this town, and should publicly state what they're going to do to make sure that these kind of ethical lapses don't happen, or when they do happen, that they're an aberration and a single bad act by a single bad apple, and not a pattern of misconduct that's allowed to continue in a department. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Okay, anybody else with new public business? Hearing none, we'll go to the agenda. The board will vote to accept a gift in accordance with Mass General Laws, Chapter 44, Section 53A, to the Danvers Fire Department from the Arson Watch Reward Program for a first place in the state honors for a poster submitted by Holton Richmond Middle School student Olivia Quaterone. Is somebody here to speak to this? Probably the fireman. Welcome, Brian.
Hi, good evening. Olivia Quaterone is sitting here in the audience. I'd like to invite her up to the podium.
Oh, certainly.
So every year, the state's Arson Watch Reward Program runs a fire safety poster contest. And Danvers, Richmond Middle School students consistently have submitted posters to that program, and we've had some pretty good success in the past. Like we've won in the county, but this year, Olivia actually won the best fire safety poster in the state of Massachusetts.
Congratulations.
And obviously, we'd like to thank her for doing that, and as a result, the town benefits, the department benefits. The town is being rewarded with a $2,500 grant for the fire department, which can be used for equipment, materials, outreach, education, and fire prevention purposes. So, once again, I'd just like to thank you, Olivia, and really appreciate what you did.
Thank you, Olivia. Very nice. Board members, we need a motion to accept the gift under Mass General laws, and perhaps a letter to Olivia for congratulations would be in order.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to accept the gift, as so moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Aye. Opposed, none. Thank you very much for coming tonight. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right. Number 4, Rebecca Franke, Danvers Falcon Fest banner hanging over High Street, September 16 to 22, 2024, for the second annual Wiffle Bowl event at St. John's Prep on September 22nd. Rebecca, are you here? Please go to the microphone, say hello to the folks at home, and tell us a little more.
Good evening. I am not Rebecca.
No,
My
I
name
didn't think
is
so.
Amy Ciancarelli. I'm the president of Falcon Fest. Rebecca couldn't make it tonight. We are here seeking approval for a banner to be hung downtown on High Street. As you know, we have had successful marketing using the banner method, and we're very excited to have a second annual Wiffle Bowl. The event is a really nice pairing of an ice cream tasting, ice cream social, along with an old-fashioned Wiffle Bowl tournament. So that event will take place on September 22nd at St. John's Prep. And we just want to make sure that we get a great attendance. And by doing so, we'll also push social media marketing. But banners have been effective in the past. So we'd like your approval.
Okay, questions? Maureen?
Hi, Amy.
Hi.
Great job with the Falcon Fest. So are they going to have police detail there too, or no?
No, St. John's Prep is a private entity, and it's
Okay.
not required.
All right, and just the traffic for the neighborhood, they're going to have crossing guards and for the kids and,
We did have some assistance from volunteers and St. John's Prep staff last year. As a proactive communication strategy, I did some door knocking to the neighbors in the abutting area, and everybody was very happy and are very used to the commotion that being in the St. John's Prep neighborhood kind of brings about.
excellent. And I'm sorry, did I miss the time? that it's gonna take
Yes, the
place?
time is tentative. We're looking for an afternoon start of noon. That is dependent on our partner, East Coast Wiffle Ball, excuse me.
Until when?
It's usually about a 4-hour event.
About
So
4
12 to
p.m.?
4,
Okay.
we'll have final details.
And parking is going to be in the prep area and their
Yes.
parking lots? Okay.
Yep.
That's it. Thank you.
So
Thank you.
As we move through this, members, the request is for a banner.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Any questions?
No question. Just thank you for all the community events that you put up year long. So thank you.
Thank you.
Mike, questions?
No, it just sounds like it's going to be a good time. Thank you.
Yes.
David?
Thank you, Dad, and I agree.
Wonderful.
So a wiffle bowl, is that different from wiffle ball?
So we're combining like ice cream
That's where the
scooper
bowl comes in, okay.
But we can't use that language. You know, that's already trademarked with wiffle ball. So we've kind of married those two
Okay,
things
thank you. That
together.
clarified that. Thank you. What's the will of the board?
We accept the Danvers Falcon Fest banner hanging over High Street, September 16th through 22nd, 2024, second annual Wiffle Bowl event at St. John's Prep on September 22nd.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Thank you, Amy.
Thank you. Take care.
See you later. Yes, Mr. Bradstreet. I know, we've approved a banner. That's their business.
If I may answer
may.
that question, there is no rain date. It's rain or shine. You're very welcome. Ice cream is just as good inside as it is outside. And I hear that the kids like to play in the rain anyway, so rain or shine.
Thank you. Number 5 is Richard Little, DBA Flight 4CF, for a banner hanging over High Street, September 2 to 8, 2024, for the air show event to be held at Beverly Airport. We're moving this to the consent calendar because it's a repeat. Number 6, the police chief will discuss a liquor compliance violation. Chief?
Good evening. On April 22nd, at approximately 6:08 in the morning, officers responded to 10 Newbury Street, the Trevito Restaurant, for report of a vehicle that struck the building. Investigation revealed that the truck was owned by the manager who was on premises, and it was being moved by an employee who struck the building. During the investigation, they determined that, after speaking with the manager, that the employees have been consuming alcohol at the restaurant after hours throughout the night. And this accident was a result of consuming alcohol on property after closing of the restaurant.
That's a first.
Did I get one?
Questions, Maureen?
I didn't get one.
Yeah, it came tonight.
Yeah,
We didn't get it. Go ahead.
Can I look at it before I,
Any other particulars we should be aware of, other than there was drinking after hours on site?
There was a operator arrested. That's not part of the report because it's currently pending at Salem District Court. But there was an arrest as a result of the accident, and the manager was the one who Sergeant Savage spoke to, Mr. Martinez, who admitted that they were consuming alcohol after hours on the premises.
Jurisdiction would not cover the operation of the vehicle, or would it?
I'm sorry?
Did you say the vehicle is being operated?
Yes, so that the driver was arrested.
Right, but is that under our purview, or just
No.
the, no, I didn't think so.
Just the concern was the after-hour
Correct.
consumption of alcohol in the premises.
Okay. Any questions, Maureen?
oh, I haven't read it all. No,
I'll come back to you. Dee, any questions?
Yeah, just a quick question, Chief. How did we find out that they were consuming alcohol?
During the investigation of the accident scene, it was determined that he was he was an employee of the restaurant as a cook. They spoke to the manager whose vehicle it was, and during that conversation, he admitted that they were consuming alcohol on property.
Okay, so they did admit to doing it. And I don't know if this is relevant, Mr. Chairman. Do they have the liquor license? Are there hours that,
Yes.
was it after the hours
Yes.
they were supposed to be serving
Yes.
alcohol?
It's believed that there was consumption throughout the overnight hours, and that he was backing the truck up at some point, I don't know if he was leaving or not, and struck the building. That prompted the response.
Thank you. No further questions.
Thank you. Mike?
No, I got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
David?
Thank you, Dan. Chief, did you have some recommendation for action this board should take?
As past practice, I believe we should probably contact the manager and have the management come in and at least answer to the violation at least. And on a side note, the building inspector's name is listed on the report. He was not present during the incident. He responded to check the building and determine whether or not it was safe to go back in the building after the building was struck. So just wanted to clarify that.
Thank you.
Maureen?
I think all the questions, so we'll go with the chief's recommendation.
So in a case like this, board members, we would decide to have the owner of the operation come before us as soon as our next meeting, perhaps, to hear a suspension, revocation, or take any other action on the license. So that would be the motion I'd like to hear.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote in favor. Aye. Opposed, none. Can we have this person before us at our next meeting, or are we going to have to wait till August?
We just have to send them a certified letter, which we could get out in the mail in the next couple of days.
That okay, Chief? You
Fine.
have somebody here on the 18th
18th,
with
yes.
them? Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
The board will consider outdoor dining regulations. Mr. Town Manager.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would invite our Director of Land Use and Community Services up to the podium. You did receive some correspondence from Mr. Henry in your packets Friday, and this is a conversation with the board about formalizing what was an informal practice during COVID, and could be described as an experiment that has worked fairly well, but for the reasons Mr. Henry will explain, we should formalize this practice.
Thank you, Mr. Bartha. Good evening, everybody. Nice to see you all. As Mr. Bartha alluded to, during COVID, kind of the second half of the pandemic, there was spacing requirements imposed by the Commonwealth on retail establishments. And in an effort to help downtown businesses, or actually, we were doing it town-wide, but most of the businesses that took advantage of it were downtown. We relaxed some of the rules around the use of public ways. We created a little bit of a formal process for business owners to go through so that we could kind of create a level playing field. Post-COVID, as you know, downtown, we still have plenty of businesses that do small little outdoor seatings in front of their cafes, a pizza shop, et cetera. But we don't have the regulations in place. Obviously, those regulations were rooted in the state of emergency and several of the emergency powers that were given to municipalities during the pandemic. So those have all expired. And so Mr. Bartha asked if there was a possibility of us recrafting those regulations outside of the state of emergency. That can be done, and we do actually think we should be doing this only because we've had a couple businesses that come forward and do it the right way. We have a couple other businesses that don't know there's a right way, and so they see the neighboring businesses doing it, so they're doing it. Again, we don't anticipate major problems. You see what you get out there. That's largely unregulated. It has not led to problems, but I think we need to put, for fairness' sake, some sort of framework in place so that there's a set of rules by which everyone's playing by. And so what you have before you is essentially a reworked version of the COVID regulations. The authority here is rooted in your traffic rules and regulations. The Board of Selectmen has control of the rights of way, and the placing of objects in the ways is yours to approve. So in this case, we've changed where we're deriving the authority to go to the traffic regs as opposed to the rules we had during COVID. There are two decision points that I would need your feedback on if you are to proceed with adoption of the regulations. The first is whether or not to allow businesses to request of us the use of on-street parking spaces. That's something that was quite popular during COVID, and many municipalities are continuing that practice, although not Boston in the North End, if you've been paying attention. They're not allowing that there. No one took advantage of that opportunity during COVID in Danvers, but it was in the first set of regulations that you adopted, so I left those in this version. But I've highlighted the words that have to come out if that's not to go forward, and that's a really easy strike through if that's not the will of the board. Similarly, if you wish to proceed, the other one that I didn't have a strong recommendation on would be what to do between November 15th and April 15th when there are times when we have snow on the ground and we might need better access to the sidewalks for snow clearing. And in this case, in COVID, it was a seasonal, warm weather season only. And in theory, we were asking people to pull them on November 15th. So we need a little guidance there. If we went with an annual, I would simply say we'd tell the businesses they've got to come in on a snow emergency. We're already declaring snow emergencies. So at least in theory, they'd know if there's a parking ban, the stuff has to come in. And then our office would kind of manage that. But that is really your call. So those are those two pieces that we'd be looking for guidance. And obviously, I can answer any questions that you may have. It's been a couple of years since we've done that, and we have several new members of the board.
Thank you, Aaron. David?
I think it's a good thing to have a formal policy so that all people are treated equally as far as the merchants. This looks good to me. The April 15 to November 15 sounds sensible. I still haven't thought much about utilization of off-street parking spaces. Is that something that the Traffic Advisory Committee has considered or should consider?
I'm chair of the Transportation Advisory Committee. We have not talked about this piece of it in particular in the last year or so. Again, we did a little bit more legwork back in the COVID era on how to run that. At the end of the regs, you'll see all the various officials that are involved in permitting one of these, police and fire being part of that process. And typically back then, when we contemplated the use of on-street parking spaces, it more or less came with a requirement that you were going to have to frame out your parking space with Jersey barriers or something along those lines to prevent a vehicle from, getting up into your space. So we had hard barriers in one or two places in town during COVID. So if we were to go forward, that would be I can't imagine the thinking on that has evolved past that.
Well, I would not want to be called upon tonight to approve this without some further discussion about the utilization of the off-street parking, because many people experience parking difficulties in and around the square. We, of course, don't want to
Right.
make that any worse, and at the same time, we would like our businesses to thrive.
Right.
So that's kind of, thank you, Dan. That's
I might
what
come back to it, but if I can hear from other members, but I might come.
We'll hear it from the other members.
Yeah, but I
please.
have a thought. Yep.
Michael?
I like the use of the sidewalks. I think it's nice. People enjoy that a lot. Definitely got to wrap it up for winter, though, so we can clear the sidewalks. We're probably going to have to amp up the bike penalty situation, because if there's going to be more people sitting out on the sidewalk, we probably can't have bikes on the sidewalks. You could see that accident coming. Off-street parking, I wouldn't want to see that. I don't think we need it.
No one applied for it, and so I didn't want to remove it unilaterally. I thought I would get the board's feedback.
But, yeah, I think it's great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dee?
Thank you. I think it's a great idea. I agree with Mike that if no one took advantage of the on-street parking last time, I don't think we probably want to go there. Just a question so I can wrap it up in my head. What does the permit application consist of?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I should have mentioned it. In the past, during COVID, we just had a simple basically the business owner would write us a letter. We did require a scaled plan, but we didn't mean like go to an engineer and get it scaled out. Like, you can go out in front of your business, use a tape measure, and just give us, a hand drawing that says I've got 5 feet in front of my business. Our clearance for ADA purposes is 36 inches. So, and again, then we go out and look at it and make sure everything was on the up and up. So we're gonna have a very similar process. We're gonna move it online. Since COVID, we now have an online permitting system that will probably do that. We'll still have to be out there and meet with them in the field just to ensure that everything's good, but in theory, it shouldn't be a heavyweight process. Really, the hardest component to it, which doesn't cost them anything, is adding the town as an additionally insured. That's really kind of why we need to have the process in general, is that if someone were to trip and fall on a picnic table out there, we want to make sure that we're all on the same page as to what happens when that happens.
So that would be an insurance additional to whatever they have for the establishment?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And
And that
if-
was not a problem during COVID. No one had any issues with that.
Okay. Any fees involved with
No.
the application? So
No.
that will be free of charge to the businesses? Yeah, I think anything that we can do to encourage businesses and promote it, I'm all for it. It's true, the puttings in the details, so we'll probably have to see what it entails from beginning to end, but I'm leaning towards supporting it, but not taking away the parkings. Thank you.
Maureen?
Hi, Aaron.
Hi.
How are you? I think it's great. It's a great way to support our business community. and enhance the downtown. Like I say, I want to, keep things local. You want people to stay here, spend money here, support the restaurants and the businesses. So I think it's great. So we want to request the conversion of any on-street parking spaces to the seating areas, and the second is the time of the year. I like that time of year. I think you're right with, I'd probably agree with you, we don't want snow. So I think that's the perfect time, April to November.
Yeah.
I'm all for it, anything to promote the businesses, and you're going to have a policy and a procedure on how they go about doing it with the permits, have it written somewhere,
Yep,
right?
we're just really recasting everything. We had that all in place during COVID. All we need to do is kind of reawaken that, and we're going to move it online so that they can apply online without having to write the letter and do all that fun stuff. They'll get to us a little bit easier.
Okay, no, I'm all for it, thank you.
Thank you. My thoughts are the following. I would not be in favor of using off-street, on-street, whatever you call it, parking for restaurants. I'm certainly in favor of the sidewalk usage. It makes sense. I might even suggest an April 1 to November 30th. Weather around here isn't so nasty as it used to be. If it's snowing, they're not going to be able to set up, but I'd give them the opportunity to use those guidelines. That's my thought. And again, on the backside, using the street, the Jersey barriers is not a good look. So I would not, another reason I'm not in favor of it. And once you put people sitting out in the street with Jersey barriers, it's another accident waiting to happen. Somebody's going to pile into that Jersey barrier sooner or later. So those are my thoughts. I would take out anything referencing on-street parking. I would suggest we change the dates, but that's up to my fellow board members. Did you have something else you wanted to add?
I think, given the sense of the board, that on-street parking is probably should not be included. I guess I would just say, I think that's a cleaner version to go forward with the understanding that your traffic rules and orders technically allow anybody to come forward to the full board and request the placement of an object in a right-of-way. I'm not inventing that. That's been in the book since 1950 or whatever. So in theory, if a business approached us and was dead set on it,
We'd hear them.
I suppose they can come to you. So I think we don't need it in the regs. We don't think we're going to have a request. And if they do, it goes to you guys. I think that's a reasonable solution to be able to move forward tonight on what we think is going to be standard fare.
Thank you. I'll come back to you. A member of the audience had a question. Even though it's not a public hearing, did you want to make comment? Mr.
It wouldn't be
Bradstreet?
a meeting if Mr. Bradstreet didn't ask us a question.
I don't have to recognize him.
Again, Bill Bradstreet, my only question was to qualify the April, November. Although we've had some mild weather, it's not unusual. April Fool's Day, we've had a snowstorm. And we've had early ones in the fall to perhaps.
I remember every one of them.
So just a qualifier, not just the April to November. However, clarify it a little better. Weather conditions, other possible problems. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but
Thank you. Yep.
I heard that and I'm going, oh boy, the way the
We'll
weather
say,
is around.
yeah, we'll expect this winter be the snowy one.
So,
and it
Mr.
will-
Aaron, what is it you want from us tonight? We've given
Well,
you our
given-
thoughts.
Yeah, given your summer schedule, we were hoping for approval of the regulations tonight. I do hear, I think we had consensus that on-street can come out. That's the highlighted, most of the blue on that packet, if you got a color version. Most of the highlighting would just get stricken. The only thing I would need guidance on would be the seasonality, whether that's April 1, April 15. We can roll with whatever you wish, but I think given your summer schedule, it'd be good to get this done tonight so that we can start working with the businesses over the next couple of weeks to get everybody straightened out.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we take your suggestion of April 1st to November 30th.
Okay, that's one motion.
One
We can do
motion,
that. We'll come back to the others. Is there a second on the dates?
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed, none. Okay, for clarification, can we have a motion on the on-street parking spaces, the use of, or not?
Perhaps, Dan, that the regulations as proposed be approved, deleting, however, any mention or opportunity at this time for off-street parking spaces being used, something like that.
That sounds perfect. Anything, is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor? Aye, opposed, none. You got all that, Kathy?
Yep.
Okay, that was a long-winded one. Anything else in there that we should address, Mr. Henry?
No, I think that's it. I'm just looking to make sure my notes, that would be it. And I need to make sure I get Lieutenant Sullivan's phone number there. You've got 4 X's on his telephone number, so I'll make sure I get those updated.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 8, the town manager will report to the board on various items of interest. Steve?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First, the board received copies tonight of letters that were prepared in my office regarding 2 actions taken at the annual town meeting. The first is a letter that will go in the mail to the manager of the Beverly Regional Airport relating to the citizens petition that was amended on the floor requesting that the commissioners embark on an environmental report to protect residents. So that information is being conveyed to the manager along with an invitation to sit and talk so that the discussion that ensued at the town meeting can be conveyed to him so that he can share it with his commission. That would be a decision that would be under the jurisdiction of the commission, should they voluntarily take that on. As was mentioned during the warrant process, but not at town meeting, that question was asked by this board, different membership, but same board. Pre-COVID, we had a hearing in this room, and the representatives from the Airport Commission, the former manager, and the consultant helping them with their strategic plan were asked by a number of people, including our state representative, whether they would undertake an environmental impact study, and they declined. But we will convey the sentiments of the town meeting to the airport manager and the commission to see if they're open to addressing some of those concerns. The second letter, also related to a citizen's petition, was addressed to our state senator and state representative. That has to do with the pilot payment. There is some confusion around that. I know there's confusion right now on Facebook around that. There's been confusion. There was some confusion at the town meeting specific to that. And so just as a point of clarification, the pilot payment that the town of Danvers is entitled to for the acreage at the airport was established in state law, I believe in the 1940s. The way that pilot is changed would be through state legislation. So the full legislature would have to vote to amend state law to change that formula. It is a very antiquated formula. I have had discussions with our delegation in the past. Essentially, and I'll simplify this, I'll probably get it wrong, but the way that it works, unlike a tax bill on a property where you take the current market value multiplied by the mill rate, which generates a tax bill, the way that the state law is written pertaining to this airport, and I believe other airports, is whatever the value of the property was, whatever the tax bill was at the time that the law was passed, is held constant. And so therefore you take the pilot payment, which is roughly $7,000. You divide by the current mill rate, and it spits out an arbitrary valuation for the property. There's a notion that the town is forgiving millions of dollars in property taxes. That's simply not true. The town is only entitled to roughly $7,000 in pilot payment. This board made the decision roughly 2 decades ago to forego the $7,000 in pilot in exchange for 2 seats on the 9-member commission. That is the status today. That was the status 20 years ago. The town could give up the 2 seats on that commission and collect the $7,000 in pilot payment. That would be a policy decision of this board. In the past, the board's position has been that in a $182 million budget, it's more valuable to have 2 seats than an additional $7,000 in pilot payment. This is a topic I have discussed. We thought you wanted to come back and hear about regional pilot payments, Brian. This is a topic I have discussed with our delegation in the past, and as is mentioned toward the end of this letter, the conversation that I think should happen with our delegation is a broader conversation on pilots. The town of Danvers is party to at least 3 separate intermunicipal pilots. The first has to do with the SESD plant in Salem. That's where the sewerage from Danvers and the more than a dozen other communities flows or is pumped and is treated before being discharged into the ocean. So the member communities of SESD pay a pilot payment to the city of Salem. That is also written into statute. That is a flat dollar amount. That is a $500,000 pilot that is paid annually, divvied up by the member communities. So we have the 1940 formula for the airport, which is sort of reverse engineering a tax bill. We have a lump sum related to the treatment plant. And then the Putnam Reservoir, which is located in Danvers, is operated by the Beverly-Salem Water Board. That pilot lives in yet a different section of statute and is treated completely differently from the other 2. And that is probably the most sensible of the 3. It requires that periodically an appraisal be done on the property. Both parties have to agree on the appraisal. So the city, the Beverly-Salem Water Board and the town of Danvers through its assessing department have to agree that the appraisal is appropriate. Once that is done and the market value of the property is determined, then you simply multiply it by the mill rate and it generates a pilot payment. In that case, the town collects roughly $100,000 a year from the Beverly-Salem Water Board for the operation of the reservoir. What I've suggested to our delegation, and I think the conversation we will continue now with the vote of town meeting, is not just to talk about the Beverly Airport pilot, but to try to start a conversation about all 3 of those sites, and there may be others that the town is not party to that also belong in that conversation, such that we can have some consistency and equity in terms of how municipalities are compensating one another when parts of their properties are being used for municipal or enterprise purposes. So all of that is to say it's more complicated than what was conveyed at town meeting. We do not go to entities like the airport and try to negotiate a pilot before we provide essential services to them. We respond to public safety calls whether you pay taxes or not. They pay their water, sewer, and electric bill if they're in Danvers, just like any other entity. But state properties are separate and distinct. When this town launched its voluntary pilot program probably 6 years ago, we did not approach the community college, Essex Tech, or the airport because they're creatures of the state. We did approach private schools and nonprofits with $1 million or more in assets because they fell under the tax-exempt portion of statute, and so those were conversations to have. But even those entities that offered us nothing in terms of pilot continued to receive essential services from the town. So that was a lot, but I wanted to put some of that out there because I know there's some confusion about how that works at the airport.
And I think no matter how many times you repeat it, people still are not going to understand it.
Moving on to the next item. Looking ahead to our June 18th meeting,
Steve,
we had the chief here earlier.
before we move off,
Yes,
may I comment, as I have several times in the past, nothing to do with criticism of what I think that the town manager does a superb job of explaining a situation. I'm always going to be concerned that Essex Aggie, St. John's Prep, and North Shore Community College that receive roads, sewer, electricity, fire, police, and all, those are substantial properties, and I understand that the prep is private, that the Aggie and the community college are creatures of state government. But why is not state government encouraged to treat Danvers taxpayers fairly so that we are not paying for the municipal services for these big entities, along with anyone else that I could think of. But the manager has spoken about other governmental agencies, the city of Beverly, and I will never, ever, ever be satisfied that the town and the town taxpayers are being treated fairly with respect to those major properties. And for those property owners, managers, deans, whoever they are, to say, well, we are exempt by statute. I'm not a moron, and I've been reading statutes for 55 years. I know what the statute says. The statute needs to be changed, changed dramatically. It simply isn't fair. And so, okay, and I'll probably get to say it again before I pass on. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you. Steve, anything else?
No, just looking ahead to the 18th, we heard from the chief earlier tonight, so it sounds like we'll have a liquor compliance hearing. I mentioned that we'll have the town engineer here to give the board an update on all things water-related. We also, as a reminder, discussed bringing the strategic plan back on the 18th. If I haven't had any questions yet, but if any board members do have questions or comments on the draft plan that was distributed post-town meeting, please let me know, so that when we come back in June, hopefully the board will be comfortable adopting that to move forward. We are also trying to coordinate a discussion with Connors Farm. We've invited them to come before this board before summer gets rolling. We had a number of complaints and concerns from neighbors last fall related to sound and activities late at night. We had some experience regulating that in the same part of town when Breakaway was still open during COVID and doing outdoor performances. We've asked the farm to come before the board to explain what the fall schedule looks like, and to take some guidance from the board in terms of hours and noise and things of that nature. So we're still working through Aaron's office to try to get that lined up. And we'll probably have a brief executive session on the 18th for two purposes. One is our annual litigation update, which the town attorney provides each year. And the second will be a brief update on collective bargaining, as all of the town contracts are open right now, as well as the teacher contract. So I'll be giving a brief update on that.
Will that be before the meeting, Steve?
Probably before the meeting. So if it works for the board, we could start the meeting early that night as opposed to doing it at the end of the meeting.
Thank you. Members, you will be able to attend executive session 5 o'clock on the 18th?
Yes.
Thank you. Anything else, Steve?
That's it, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can we have a motion on the consent calendar as below with the addition of the Beverly Airport banner?
Dan, may I be heard?
Yes.
I want to approve the consent calendar except for the banner for the air show. I do not approve of the banner because I don't approve of the air show, because I still don't approve of the noise, and I don't think anyone really takes our citizens seriously. So if it's possible, I do not want to vote to approve the,
You can abstain from that, and I'll ask somebody else to make the motion. It's really not approval of the event, but the banner hanging. And if you want to abstain, that's fine. I'll ask somebody else to make the motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll make the motion to approve the consent calendar, Dan.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed?
Abstain.
Abstained, one. Thank you. I will go to new business, new public business, old business updates, closing comments. I'd like to bring up some new business, if I may, at the beginning. Our start times of the board has fluctuated over the last 4 or 5 years due to COVID. We went from 5:30 to 6 o'clock to 6:30, and I'm asking if this board has interest in going back to 6 o'clock start, effective with our August meeting for the balance of the year. Is that convenient for the members?
That sounds good.
Yes.
Did you say 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
Okay.
If it's a hardship, let us know.
No, that's fine.
All right, so I have consensus We'll go to 6 o'clock, and
Beginning in August, correct?
beginning in August. We won't do it.
Motion to
We,
approve that?
no, just we have a consensus.
Okay,
It's not on the agenda to be voted on, so we really can't vote on it.
Okay.
But there's a consensus, so I hereby declare we will go to 6 o'clock starting in August. Thank you.
And Dan,
Yes,
we had an executive session when, please?
18th.
Thank you.
Yep, next meeting, 5 o'clock. And with that, we'll go to new business and comments. Mike?
Nope, I don't have anything. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Dee?
Yes, I have a couple of items. I attended my first cable
Advisory?
advisory meeting last week. So,
Yes.
so the cable advisory committee is in the beginning stages of negotiating a new cable contract with Verizon, and we are anticipating in bringing a recommendation to the select board in late summer. The cable advisory committee is sharing a survey with the community. We'll be sharing a survey in the coming weeks, just to get some feedback about the services that Verizon offers. So I'll encourage people to participate because we need those feedbacks. The other item I have is I attended my first Memorial Day parade. It was really inspiring, great event. Where attended as a selectman. I've attended the parade before, but it felt a little different this time. And just kudos to the organizing committee and Dick Moody and Kelly and the whole team. They did an amazing job. And I just want to share an interaction that I had with a veteran after we went to the VFW to have some sandwiches. And one of the veterans, I'm not giving the name because I did not ask for permission, but as you were talking, he said to me he was thinking of moving in 2 months, moving in New Jersey in 2 months. But after being here for so long and after this parade and the service that he's getting and the way he's getting treated in this town, he was going to make some very hard phone calls with his wife and say they are not moving anymore. They're going to stay in Danvers because they just love it so much. So what we do matter, and again, kudos to the whole team and all the services that they offer. The last item that I would like to bring up is I want to extend a heartfelt thanks to the Accessibility Commission. I attended their meeting as well. I was in this room. And their commitment to educating and assisting those who want to learn more about various disabilities is truly commendable. They are also an invaluable resource for finding support and resources for all kinds of disabilities, seen and unseen. And the recent meeting, which was the second one of the series, I attended the first one at Northeast Arc, where the students were talking about their experience within the school system with disability. And the one they had here were just regular folks talking about their experience within town with disability. And, you know, the effort that this commission is doing is really significant in making a difference in our community and fostering understanding and inclusivity. I walked away so inspired. There was one of the speakers that was visually impaired. And she said to me, think about me. And she actually volunteered herself. She said she could go to elementary school and just have little kids touch her cane. Like, she's blind, but she said, think about an elementary school child holding this cane. And as they grow up, when they see the cane in the future, they are not fearful anymore. It becomes normal for them to see someone who is blind. Just food for thought, and I just want to commend the commission for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Maureen?
Yes, thank you, Dan. Couple of things. I attended my first Danvers Cares meeting, and that was really, I enjoyed it. You were there, right?
No, I-
Uh,
not- no, I
You were
was
there,
not.
right before,
Yes,
going to Danvers
I
Cares?
used to.
Well, I've been
It
there
was
many
ve- Yeah,
times.
it was very, it was really nice to go there. Leadership and community. I want to thank Dave Thompson, who has run the program, the leader with the meetings. He's stepping down, he's leaving, but he's done a great job. I know Dave from past, our kids had gone to school together. But what was really nice is some of the kids got awards. It shows good leadership. Talking about disabilities, they also talk, it's really nice if anybody wants to come. It's the first Monday of the month at 9:15 at the Danvers High School. I think they're breaking for summer now because of no school, but they'll pick up in September again. But what was nice is the Danvers Library is actually doing some programs. I would encourage everybody to look at the Danvers Library about some sign language, you know, which is really good. But that was really a great meeting. Steve, you mentioned something that Steve King will update us about the Ipswich River. We talked about that before. Congratulations to Olivia for that terrific poster. I see that it's being hung on the wall right here. And then, what else did I want to say? I just wanted to commend Mr. Burwitt, John, coming up and standing up and stating about what happened, the unfortunate part with the DPW director. You know, happened once, happened twice. No more does this happen in our town. I mean, we need to, as a board, you know, really buckle down on this. It's, to me, it's basic principles, you know, where people need to be trained, people do compliance, they sign off, they take tests, you know, maybe under the pains and penalties, I don't know, you know, but this is something that cannot happen again. And I don't know what I can really say or can't say, but I will tell you that I am not happy, and I don't think a lot of my board members are happy with this. And this is a disgrace to our town. It's an embarrassment again. So I'm sorry for the residents to hear about this. We heard about it pretty much the same time you guys did, too. That's it.
Thank you, Maureen. David, any comments, closing comments?
Thank you, Dan. Just to thank the Human Rights and Inclusion Commission and other people in our community that have been celebrating Juneteenth and Pride Month, and to remind people that this coming Thursday at 5 o'clock, there'll be a pride flag raising at the Danvers Police Department. And from my own experience, things have certainly changed in the last 50 years. Thank you.
Thank you, David. Mr. Henry, you stayed. Can I take advantage of your knowledge to mention our upcoming Thursday meetings in this room with various boards, then again in the Senior Center with the Affordable Housing Committee? Would you just get up and give those dates, times, and purpose? I'd
Putting me
appreciate
on the
it.
spot like I remember my calendar. June 13th, in this room, we've invited the Select Board, the Planning Board, and the Zoning Board of Appeals to have a conversation. We'll have the room set up in a U shape, kind of a round table, but facing the screen for the Land Use Summit. We've kind of done this periodically every couple of years. So we hope you can attend on the 13th. That's at 6 o'clock, 6 to 8 o'clock here in this room. And then 1 week later, the Affordable Housing Trust will be hosting a community event at the Senior Center in the Great Room, also at 6 o'clock on June 20th. And that's more of a community-wide conversation about housing. We are working on a housing production plan, which is a kind of specific housing plan that the Commonwealth encourages communities to investigate. The Housing Trust has hired a consultant, J.M. Goldson, to help us with that effort. And this is kind of before we get into summer mode. They've done some preliminary research on demographics, housing statistics that they would like to share, and then try to do some brainstorming with the community so that they can then go off over the summer and kind of put that together so that in the fall we'll have some draft recommendations. So 2 meetings, June 13th here, Land Use Summit, and June 20th at the Senior Center to talk a deep dive on housing.
Thank you, Aaron, I
Thank you, Mr.
appreciate it.
Mayor.
That'll be my first official meeting at Affordable Housing.
Yeah, Dan, can I, excuse me,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, through you, I might have a conflict on the 20th. I wanted to go, but I won't be able to. 'cause
Yeah,
I
we
might-
can't do it the 19th.
I know,
Yeah,
I
it's the
know.
20th.
But I wanted to say one other thing. I'm sorry, I'm angry about the DBW director. However, I just wanted to thank the educators, the kids, having all their field days at school, the teachers and all the workers have done a great job with the kids. And I just want to thank everybody in the education world for teaching our kids and keeping them safe.
Thank you. Is everybody else all set on the board at their time? Thank you. I'd like to mention the passing of Eddie Moore, longtime resident. He'd been out of circulation the last couple of years, but every time I went downtown, Eddie was there. Sorry to see that. And Larry Crowley, our longtime recreation director, passed away recently, and there was a service this past Friday at All Saints Church for Mr. Crowley, and it was a full church, and we'll miss both those gentlemen. I would mention that the last couple of days, Danvers Historic Society had the third grade kids over at Page Street and Tapley Hall learning about the Page House and certain things, and they were all very excited, and they had done their homework, read the book, and they knew the answers to a lot of the questions. It's always a good time when those kids come over. Memorial Day, great parade as usual. The new format I thought was fine. I really thought it was good to be inside Holton Richmond. Out of the elements, everybody was comfortable. You could hear the speakers, and I thought it was very well done. And I asked Mr. Moody, hopefully, that they continue that venue in the future. So we'll see what happens. Anything else come
Point
for
of
the
order,
board?
Mr.
Yes?
Chairman.
Yes.
I'm not sure if Mike gave his closing comments. Did I miss it?
Mike was first.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
You're just trying to get me to say something stupid. Can I say one thing?
Yes.
We also lost Louis Messez.
correct. We lost Louis Masses, yeah.
And Dan Corbett, too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And Dan Corbett a little while back.
Big families in Danvers.
Yeah,
Corbett. Young Dan Corbett.
Yep, young Dan,
well, it was 69.
yeah.
That's young.
Still young.
That's young.
Okay. Thank you for that, Mike. If there's no other business to come before the board, when you see a veteran, please thank the veteran for their service, and good night, Danvers.
Thank you.
I think that's an extra.
Oh, good, yeah.